Alright, so today I want to do something that scares me, which is to draw from a photo that is fairly complex. And the reason this is complex is it's not just a landscape and it's not just creatures, it's combining landscapes and creatures. So I'm going to do this as a practice for myself just to demonstrate that I'm doing something that scares me, in the same way that I encourage anybody who watches these videos to do things that scare them. I don't want to be a hypocrite and not do the stuff that scares me. So what I'm going to do here, the first thing I might do if something scares me is I might do a small version, because things that are small aren't so scary. So the first thing I would do is block out. I'm going to pretty much do a copy of this photo, because this is a study, and I don't really mind. Well, I'm going to be analyzing this photo, I'll say. It's going to look pretty similar, but I am going to be analyzing rather than just copying. I'm going to be thinking about the structure of these deer. So I'm not just going to purely be copying. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do these in a very small version, and I'm just going to see how would I plot this out on the paper. I'm just thinking, how far over does this come? Does it go halfway? It goes a little bit more than halfway, maybe. So I go like that, and I just do these as simple shapes, just so it becomes less scary. Because things are scary when they're complex and they're all one giant problem. But if you break it down into smaller problems, then it's not so scary. So I think this one could be a little taller. It's good I like doing preliminary studies just to sort of get my feet wet, get a feel for how I can, the obstacles I might encounter, what might give me trouble, what my tendencies are versus what the reality is. So it just gives me, it helps me map out the, so if this is like an obstacle course right here, right, maybe there's a, right, so say there's like a pit of death here, there's a wall here. What I'm doing with these little studies is I'm just mapping this out and saying, okay, I know there's an obstacle here and here and here, and so I can make my path, as I draw this, I can avoid those obstacles. So I'm just going to do it in a very small way that I can do very quickly, so I won't spend a lot of time on rendering or anything if I'm not sure that things are working. So I'm just going to do it on a very small level and make sure I can get it to work on a simple level, right? So I know that there's a deer here, there's a deer here, they've got their ears, they're here, the ferns are going here, and then there's some trees in the background. So another thing that you can do to make something less scary is you can say, what are the main elements? There's deer 1, deer 2, there's the ferns, and then there's the background. So those are the elements that we're working with here. Now the first thing we're going to do is come up with our canvas size. Let's go ahead and move this over a bit so we can see that. Okay, so now I'm using my pencil tool, and this is something that I can go in at 100%, and then I can fix, and then I can turn down the opacity later. So let's keep this like, oops, oh I see what's happening. Okay, so I'm still using my shape tool. I don't want to do that, I want to do that. Okay, so now we're going to look at this and we're going to just do the gesture. At this point I'm not going to try to copy it one for one. I'm just going to get it nice and blocked in. I'm going to keep it energetic and loose. And I'm not going to worry about getting things perfect. So this represents the ferns, the top of the ferns. This is going to represent the trees. And then we're going to go ahead and put in our deer. I think I'm just going to keep the ferns as a mass for now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the deer, and then at the end I can come over with some marks over the deer at the end. But for now I'm just going to ignore the ferns and just keep them as this big kind of a mass. I'm thinking of it as this shape down here. That's how I'm thinking of those ferns. I'm just simplifying to feel like, so they're like this kind of a shape, okay? And then the background's the opposite of that, where it's just this kind of a shape. It's like a black, shape, a black four-sided shape. And then this one's the same thing, but it's like just a green. And I guess at this point I'm kind of doing a mini color study. So I just like doing stuff that helps me visualize and break down this stuff. And then this deer, if I were going to turn this deer into a simple shape, I would just make it like this. So the first thing I would see is that back is like this. I can go like in, out, in. Do that leg. I'm just turning this deer into a simple shape to simplify it so it's not as scary. And I want to think in these simple terms because it gives me more freedom. It's harder to move stuff around when you think of it as complex. But if you can think of it in simple terms, it becomes easier to manipulate and move. And you could even simplify that further with the legs. Or maybe I might just go like this and make it a little bit chunkier. Give it more of a belly. Like that. And that might be how I simplify it, okay? And then you just... So these elements I listed, this is how I'm going to think of these elements. Just in these simple terms. Kind of like cave paintings. And same thing for the little deer. It'd just be like this. Here. Oops. Let's do that. We're going to start with the bigger shapes first. The little deer would just be like a triangle. Here. 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 Straight up. Out. Down, out, just pretty much 2 diamonds for the ears would be the simplification. Then down and out over here, up here, down here, up here, down here. And that would pretty much be the shape I use for the... I guess, are they both fawns? Because they both have spots. When I selected this, I thought one was the mom and one was the fawn, but I think they might be both fawns because they both got the spots, right? Can't tell if one seems... This one might be bigger, though, right? I think this might be the mama. I don't know. How do deer work? How do spots work? I don't know. Doesn't change the fact. I like the photo, and so I'm going to use it. Okay. So that would be the simple shape for the little one, and this would be the shape I use for the big one. So now we can take those elements and put them in here. Yeah, we'll use that color, that's fine. And then we can go up here. So I'm thinking about, okay, is this above or below the horizon? Well, it's above. Where about is it on the canvas? I think it's about here. And I might think it's a little bit lower. This might come lower. So I'm holding on my pen saying, is this angle about right? For the fern level, I think the ferns could come down lower, below halfway, so maybe more like that. Maybe get a little bit more space up there. Okay, so we're going to delete that, boom, here. I think I can actually get rid of that background stuff. I don't know that I need that. We go up here. We're just going to get nice and loose with the lines. Here, we're going to swoop down, get the swoop of the chest. We're going to go for the back here, just keeping it very loose, very light. Here's a flow of the legs. I'm thinking of the flow of the legs here. Go down, go here, grab that up there. I've got 35 minutes left on my timer, so I'm just keeping in mind to what time it is and how long I have left to work on this. It's going to be a 45-minute study, so I'm conscious of that. However far I can get in 45 minutes is how far I'll get. I'm not going to do the ears too specifically. I might just use circles for them now because it's a quick indication. I'm not going to worry about that diamond shape at this point because that's going to take more time, and if I need to move them, then I've wasted all that time, okay? So I'm just keeping them nice and light and loose for now. I think these legs come out too far, so I might need to move them in a bit. That would be the benefit of keeping things loose, is now I don't have to worry about, oh, I committed a whole bunch of time to it. No, I haven't committed a whole bunch of time to it, so I'm good. I think this leg comes down a little lower, like here. I don't need to spend too much time detailing the feet or anything because those are going to be covered up by the ferns, but it is good to know where they are so that your deers feel grounded in space. These legs come down pretty low. Now they're going to go out. They're going to go in and then out. So they're kind of like knobby-kneed or knock-kneed, right? Where they kind of turn in a bit. And this side is lower than that side. So this side, this deer's heel is going to be all the way up here. And then it droops down on this side. So this leg is lower than the other. So I want to make a note of that this angle should be like that. I might make some indication for the tail. I just want to get the flow. I'm checking the angles here. I want to get a nice flow up to the neck. It goes like whoop. It's kind of like an S curve, like a snake. It goes down and around. It goes like this. Down and around. So I want to indicate that, and I'm thinking, okay, the head should be to the left of that, so I'm making sure that the head is aligned properly. And I might just throw it in with a circle for now. Throw up an ear, making sure everything's in the right space. And I'm aligning it with this deer, making sure everything's lining up properly. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it should at least be approximately right. I'm just going to use a circle for that rib cage. Come in here. I'm going to come down. And I'm just going to use a T to represent the features. Come up with that kite shape that I've talked about in previous videos, where it's just like a T. And then maybe you can do the kite shape, which is like that. Okay. Now we're avoiding getting too big on the details here. So we want to, now we could go look up some reference for how we want to, if we were going to finish this, I'd want to bring up some reference. So I'd want to look up some Bob Kuhn paintings of deer. I think I have some here. That's a Bob Kuhn. That's I think an elk. So I'm looking for a deer to see if I can find an example of how I want to resolve this. I'm not going to get it to that level today, but it'd be good to have it at least in my mind. So I'm looking for deer here. I'm looking if I have any reference for deer. It doesn't look like I have any unless I'm just blind to them. Maybe something like this would be good. Yeah, so that's kind of the same feeling. It's not the same animal, but it's the same feeling. So see how he simplifies this stuff into shapes? He's just implying the anatomy. And the background isn't very detailed at all. It's very focused on the animals. So, I think what we're going to do is work out the anatomy of these animals a little bit more. Not necessarily, not perfect. I mean, it's never going to be perfect, but let's just focus a little bit more on, let's actually enlarge this a bit. So we're going to grab this, Command-Shift-I to select everything else. We're going to delete everything. Whoop. Why did that do that? Command-Shift-I. I don't know. Alright, well then we'll just erase it. Erase all this stuff. Erase this. All this preparatory work. Get rid of that. And then we'll go enlarge this. Transform. Increase the size of it just to give us a little bit more real estate. Move this photo over. There we go. Okay. So now, we go into here, and we're gonna get our black, and we're gonna go here. We're gonna think, what's the shape of this head? It's pretty much like that. What I need to do is get enough information that I can start painting off of it. I don't need to draw out every detail because it's not a drawing, it's going to be a painting. So I'm approaching this as if I were going to paint it. Now I won't actually be fully doing like a fully finished painting today. I'm just figuring out how to simplify this stuff and start the process of painting it. And this is where I get everything situated. This is kind of like the block-in for a painting. I get everything drawn in. I get things situated on the page. Figure out where these deer are going to be. I figure out how the parts of the deer are working. So I'm thinking that connects in there. I get that tombstone shape I always talk about. Get that process of the spine so it raises up a bit. I don't think that's the scapula. I think that's the spinous process where the neck muscles attach. So get those in. Down here, down, out, here, here. Get the thickness of that leg, comes back a fair amount. And this one I'm going to draw through the form. Might be further back in the drawing, but I don't mind having it out a little further for my painting. So we're going to keep it like that. I'm going to look at it drawing closely. It looks like the jawbone's going to come in like that for the deer. Now we're going to draw the spine. We're going to draw the rear, the rump, as just a block. I'm going to simplify it as much as I can. Not get too caught up in the anatomy, but just thinking about the anatomy. The anatomy is what I use to simplify this, thinking about those bony landmarks, the knee. Then I think about the belly dropping down. I think about this joint here. Think about the heel anatomy. I'm thinking about it even if I'm not drawing every single detail. I'm simplifying the anatomy to suit my purposes, which is not to do an anatomical drawing, it's to do a scene with these deer in it. But the anatomy is not the point. The anatomy is just a tool I'm using. I'm going to draw this foot even though we don't see it. I just want some sense of how it's going to work. Those two toes for the deer. Now we're not going to see those, but I want to, and I might draw them differently. Well, let's see, they may be a little bit more pointed. Think about those cloven hooves. Now that might be different than I have it, and if something looks wrong, then we just come in, we change it and say, okay, I feel like this needs to be more like that. Maybe more like that. Okay, come like that, like that, like that. And then we'll indicate some musculature here, just so we soften it up a bit, not have that straight line. Might be a little bit too much, we'll take it down. Do it again. And for this deer, do it like this, like this, like this. Do a little circle for the snout. Come up like here, indicate the eyes like that. that. Do the ears like this. Then like this. Then we'll have the neck that comes down to the shoulders. Shoulders are going to have that flat top. Come down like this. Then we're going to have the rear, the rump, that's like this. We're going to have a little notch where the legs split. A bit up at the top. Bring them down like this. The joint where the heel is. Same up here. Come down like this. That heel should be lining up right about here. Maybe we bring that heel in a little bit more. So it swoops more like that. Down. That. We got 23 minutes left on this study. So I'm thinking about like a drumstick shape here. That's what it looks like to me, is I've got a little drumstick. So that's what I'm going to draw, because that's what I see. Now, I don't really need to draw the feet on this, but I do need to indicate, let's see, maybe we should indicate the tail a bit. I'm just thinking about what's going to help define these forms and help me define this deer. And then I leave out what's not going to help me. Okay, so that's placing the deer in. Now I might want to do some suggestion, some indication of the ferns, just the major ones, just the movements that I want to. So I'm feeling a flow like this. And these are things that I can adjust if I feel like they're not helping my image. So I see a fern here, here, here. I'm really not sold on this foot. I wonder if that goes down lower maybe? That might be what it is. It's bothering me. Let's see, we'll go... Just trying to feel the flow of things. So how this feels like it flows like that. This feels like it flows like... Maybe it goes up more like this. Just getting the movements, sort of the gesture for these leaves, these ferns. And then we'll go up. Just kind of blocking out these major shapes. Okay. Squinting my eyes, feeling my way through it. Simplifying, not getting too caught up in the details, just kind of placing this stuff. Now I did bring the deer closer to the top, so I'm not going to be able to translate that one for one, so I'm just going to kind of play with the shapes up there, and probably going to have to make some substantial changes to how it actually is, but we'll just simplify it like that. There's a little negative space up there, but we'll worry about that when we get to it. And from there, that would be enough of a drawing that I could start going into the painting aspect of it, because I know where everything's going to be. Here, here. Maybe you'd want to get some indication of the musculature, and you could do that. Maybe you want to get that external obliques in. Maybe you want to get some musculature of the neck. You could also indicate the shadows, but I think you're going to have to invent the lighting on this, on a painting like this, because the lighting's not like direct or anything on the original, so it's not I don't like the lighting. It's just kind of an overcast. I mean, I'd probably exaggerate it a bit. It's kind of coming from the right here, like this. So, like this. The light's coming from here. See, you can tell because there's a shadow here. So that means the lighting's coming from this side and probably the front a little bit. So probably like that. Or maybe you could say like that. Would be the lighting. It's coming from the front right. So then I would go into multiply. Maybe I can make this a multiply layer. Yeah, that seems good, right? Well, we'll try it this way. We'll do a multiply layer, and we're going to come in and we're going to do a big brush, a nice big rough loose brush. Maybe like that. No, like this. I don't want anything too airbrushy. I want something that's going to make definite strokes. Maybe something with a little texture but not too much. So I'm just experimenting with these brushes. I think this one's good. It's got some grit to it. It's not too wishy-washy. I want something confident but not too plasticky. So I think I like this one right here. So we're going to come in on top of this layer with our multiply layer, and we're just going to mask out. Remember when we were talking about those 4 main elements of the ferns, the deer, the background, and now we're going to separate those with color. We're going to go into a darker version of that. Maybe I'll cool it down a bit. It's pretty much going to be black, but not black, but a very dark green. So we're going to do like that. Maybe we want to take this up a notch. I don't want to darken it down. This is the problem with multiplies. Yeah, maybe more concentrated in there. And then you take the deer. There you go. Alright, so I'll take maybe like a nice orange for the deer. I'd rather go overly concentrated, overly saturated than undersaturated. So I'm going to exaggerate it a bit. Yeah. So I'm just blocking this stuff in. It's 16 minutes, so I'll take it however far I can take it with the remaining 16 minutes. Just blocking this stuff in so I can see it. Okay, so I'm going to take a break and I'm going to come back in a second. And I'm back and we're ready to work. So we're going to go in here and we're going to mirror this so we can get a fresh take on it and see if everything's looking okay. Does this look convincing to me? Yeah, it looks good enough for the stage that it's at. These feet don't look very convincing to me, but they're not going to be seen, so I'm not worried about that. So I'm actually going to indicate. Let's see. I want to think about how I'm going to approach this. So let's go into a new layer. Now that this is kind of our underdrawing, and we're just blocking in these masses. So maybe I want to do a new layer, and now let's actually start getting more of the actual colors in. So we're just thinking about how we're going to be painting this. You know, we're new to this, so we're going to be learning, and we're going to be refining, and it's not going to. So maybe I want to do more of a blue. This is just learning how to paint, right? So let's see. We can think. Do we want this to be more of a blue? The other take we could do is more of a red, a reddish. But I feel like that would. I feel like I want to do a blue because that would sing with the orange color of the deer. So let me try a blue, and if I don't like it, I can always change it. But I want to start. My first instinct says blue, so I'm going to try that blue. And I'm still paying attention. I'm paying attention to my underdrawing, and I'm trying to stay within those lines. I'm not overly concerned with getting them 100% right. I'm just generally getting these masses where I want them to be, and keeping these leaves light where they're light and dark where it's dark. So yeah, I'm not a slave to these lines, but I'm respecting them. I'm giving them some respect, but I'm not overly finicky with that. I just want to make sure I'm keeping a good balance of positive to negative space, knowing that I'm going to need to come in and refine them later. So I'm keeping them nice and simple so that I'm not afraid to come in and change them. But I definitely want to have some indication of the general positioning of those leaves, even if I'm going to change them. Think about that. This is where it's going to be different from the photo because of my because of how I'm changing the proportions. How I made these deer bigger than they are in the photo because they're the focus, and I want them to be more emphasized. Wasn't necessarily my intent, but it's what Bob Ross would call a happy accident. So we'll leave that in. I like having them bigger and more prominent. That's more interesting to me. So let's have these ferns nice and light, okay? Ferns will be nice and light. Maybe too intense. We're going to take that down a bit. We don't want to be screaming. Yeah, a nice gentle green. I'm going to squint my eyes, and I'm just thinking in terms of the masses. Okay? Just thinking in terms of the masses. Now it gets very bright over here, but I actually don't know if I like that about the photograph. I might want to interpret this differently. I might want to take that down a bit, actually, to like here. It gets a little bit overdone in the photos, which I think if I squint, it takes away from the deer. So maybe I want to make the deer a little brighter and take the ferns down a bit. That's the good thing about painting is you can choose. A photo will capture everything, but a painting allows you to choose what you want to focus on. And now I want to capture, see these cool colors down here? I really like those. I also really like this reddish soil. I'm going to go ahead and capture that before I forget. So I want to capture this reddish soil because I think that's really important for helping this painting sing, is to have these colors that reflect the same colors that are in the deer. Right, it's not just green, it's green on top of this brownish color. And that brownish color is important for helping to integrate this painting. Right, you even see some oranges in there, see? So I want to capture those. And I'm going to come over top of them with the green so they're not going to be overly powerful. And then there's even a little bit of orange up there, so I'm just going to make it's like a little note to myself. There's a little orange in that leaf up there, so maybe I could capture, let's see, what if I did just a little spot of orange there? A little spot of orange. Let's see. Maybe I could put that. I don't have to be too finicky. I just need to make a note that, yeah, somewhere up there, I'm going to want that orange. It's just like a note to myself for later. It's writing a little note to myself that, okay, maybe I want to keep those notes of orange up there. So that little bit of orange throughout the painting is going to help it because it's going to tie it together rather than having everything be separate. Maybe I want to have that be a little bit more brown in the dark shadows. How I was talking, I was trying to decide between making this a reddish and making this blue. Well, I'm really liking the blue, but maybe I could add a little bit more black, reddish black into there too. Kind of like a warm black, like a Mars black maybe. Maybe not. Maybe that's a bad idea, but let's try it. I don't really like it. I might add some touches of it though. So I tried it, didn't really like it. You might want to add, I might want to add some green over here. Let's see, I think that green, I really want a nice cool green. I think a nice cool green is going to look great with the deer. So I might want to turn this, not too much, it still needs to be fairly dark so it doesn't stand out too much. Even darker than that. Like that, yeah. There's some notes of cool back here. I want this nice cool background. I might even cool these down a bit more, so like that. So like that, that. I'll take this and I'll cool it down, bring it towards the blues. These cool blues are going to sink into the background. Then the warmer colors, if I want to add those in, are going to come forward. So I think I'm going to do a blue background with notes of green. And I'm just sort of, I'm not, if I find myself obsessing over that, I'm going to be like, okay, well, let me move on from that, and I'm not going to, that's way too saturated, I know that. That's going to take away from my deer if I do that. So let's desaturate it a bit. Okay, I don't like that. I'm going to take it more towards the blues. I really want, yeah, I like that. I like these cool colors. When I think of, I want the feeling of, I'm going to save this as a deer painting. And I'm just going to maybe work on this for a few more days and just, maybe I'll work on it today and just do it as a one-day thing, but maybe I'll keep working on it. So I'm not going to be too precious about any of this stuff. Maybe I'll take that down a bit. Maybe I'll come in here. I gotta remember I shouldn't be precious. I gotta make sure to stay loose as I do this. Yeah, so keep it loose, fresh. At some point I'm gonna need to start using different brushes to vary up these strokes, but for now I'm just okay with using one big brush and just coming in here and making a mess in a good way. So I might do that, I might do this, like that. Starting to come up, maybe take that down a bit, over here. I see a lot of blue here, so let's take that blue, yeah, let's make that very blue. It's going to be darker than that, so we're going to go like that. Yeah, when I squint my eyes I see blue, so I'm going to, yeah, bring some blue into there. Maybe I'll even bring some more blue out into here. It might be too much, but we can always take it down later. I'd rather start more saturated than not saturated enough. Go here, bring some of this dark color in here. We'll bring that down a notch, bring that blue down a notch. Yeah, I'm okay with this background, really. I'm not even going to be too loyal to the photo with this background. I just want to maybe have a little bit of fun and abstract it a bit and play with shapes and just do my own sort of thing. There's a lot of empty space here, which is okay. You want areas of rest, but maybe it's too much of an area of rest for my taste. I want to just have a little fun, so maybe we'll do something like that. Something like that. Maybe we can desaturate that orange a bit. Maybe it doesn't need to be super saturated in the background. because it's in a field of blue, I think a little bit would go a long way there. Doesn't need to be crazy saturated. A little bit will go a long way. So let's try that. And then we're going to go into up here. Like that. We can get the specifics of these shapes later. For now, I just want to get the overall color in. Do something like that. Come in here, get a little bit darker. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Down to here. Let's see, I think we could go like, this is getting too much down here, so let me try that. Let me just try this out, see if it works. Definitely not going to have that much orange. Maybe a little orange like that. That. I'll come over it. It's just pushing and pulling, pushing and pulling, pushing and pulling. This is what learning to paint is. It's just a lot of trial and error. Seeing what works, seeing what you like doing. Is that too much? I feel like that's too much, because the focus of this isn't the grass and the ferns, it's the focus of this is the deer. So I need to subjugate all these deer to the background. So if the background is taking away from the deer, that's not good. I want the background should be like a supporting character. It's not the main character. So if it starts becoming the main character, I need to look out, because that's danger. That's Dangerville. I don't want this background competing for attention with the deer. I want it to be playing a supporting role, not the main role. Like that. Just looking for these major masses. If I want to come up into the deer, fine. I can always paint over it. And we'll go like that, we'll go like that. Not being too precious. And then we're going to go here. We want to darken some areas down here. I think definitely behind that leg would be good. Then, let's see, maybe we'll blacken that down a bit, darken that down a bit. Go here, here up to here. I like these cooler colors a lot, so maybe I'll get some more of that over here. Or maybe I'll bring some of these warmer colors from here over here. Maybe we'll bring that a little bit more yellow. So the more areas of desaturation I have, the more colorful my colorful areas are going to be. So if I can get some grays in, that'd be great. If I can get some grays to start working. So maybe I can do that. And if it doesn't work, then I can just change it up. So right now I think it's too concentrated, which is fine because it'll naturally get desaturated as I work on it and muddy things up. So it's okay if it's a little too saturated to begin with. Okay, so let's see, we'll go. I think I'm going to keep that darker back here, the area between the deer, because I want the deer to be. Do I want the deer to be dark or light? Probably want them to be brighter because I want to emphasize that orange color of them, and I want to play it up more so than how it is in the photo. So we got a minute left. This is just the preliminary work on this painting, and I'd like to work on this a little bit every day, hopefully make a series out of it, because I want to learn how to do ongoing studies, ongoing long form paintings, and take stuff to a finish. So I think this would be a great way to do that, and just do a little bit on this every day and show you guys how I'm doing it. So yeah, this might be an ongoing series. We'll see. We'll see. Lighten that up a bit, maybe. Maybe take it more towards the red, so make pinkish, maybe. Maybe make it more brown, which would be desaturating it a bit. going like that, just massing stuff in, squinting our eyes. There's my timer. Alright, so I gotta stop. We're gonna continue to work on this. We're just getting the colors in today. And so what did we do? We got this initial layer. Well, we did our initial studies. Then we did our underdrawing. Then we did our multiply layer to get the general drawings. And now we're just starting to work out the overall colors. Okay? So a lot of work remains to be done. We're going to keep working on it. We're going to get these values to start working, these colors to start working. And we're going to take it to a render. So, yeah. I think I'm going to keep going with this one. I think it'd be, because I've been trying to do more ongoing paintings. So that'll be it for this video. But maybe I'll do more on this. So keep an eye out for that. I know I'm talking to no one because no one watches these, but that'll be it. So all right, goodbye, take care, love to you all, and hopefully we'll be able to take this drawing further, and we'll see what happens. All right, okay, goodbye.